Hi, I'm Fawn Germer, your book editor. Do you think you're a great writer? Hang on a second. I am all for believing in yourself, but I have to tell you that the best writers I know are never so sure of themselves or so cocky that they think of themselves as great writers. They may see things they've written and think, that's pretty great. But great writers have enough insecurity to keep themselves honest and keep them wanting to improve. Every person I've ever edited who thought they were creating great masterpieces weren't. And I was once in a writing group with this guy who hated feedback so much, he insisted that he would have to throw his project out if one single word was changed. Well, dude, your project sucked. He didn't need to change one word. He needed to change many. He had a really good idea, and he failed that idea because he couldn't let go of his pride and his ego so that he could improve his writing and make it more effective. Is that you? I get that you may be a little prickly about being edited if you haven't been through this process much. I am so lucky that I started being edited at age 15 when I started as a reporter. I learned very early that editors make me look good. Not only that, they do the work and I get the credit. As a journalist, I had to accept editing. It was part of the job. There were good editors and bad ones, and I learned from all of them. From the bad editors, I learned what not to do. The good thing is that as an author, I get the right to disagree with my editor, discuss things, or just outright reject a change. But something to remember about what an editor is doing is this: they are editing. Good editors do not criticize, they edit and give suggestions. And they aren't attacking you. It's not personal. They are diving into your words. Again, remember, it's not personal, or at least it shouldn't be. Every time I've ever thought I've laid a golden egg with something I've written, it has usually wound up being something I'm not especially proud of. That's because the best writing is simple communication. It's not trying to impress someone. I once had an editor who took a giant story that I had written and cut it down to about 40% of its original size. Now imagine my reaction to that. I sucked in my breath and I started to get angry, but she said, wait, I have put every single thing that I took out in another file. Tell me what's missing and I'll put it back. Well, I read the story as if I were a reader, and that edited version was actually so much better than my original version. And my version was so much longer. It taught me a lot. I've worked for some very blunt editors. If they didn't like something, they'd blurt it out in the least tactful way possible. And if I weren't used to editing, it would likely have been hurtful and I would have felt insulted. But I was used to it. I mean, when I was first starting out as a reporter, an editor really cut down one of my stories. And he wasn't nice and it was mean. And what a horrible way to say a story didn't work. But honestly, it didn't make me cry. I knew that it meant that I had missed the mark and I had to take another crack at it. He loved the next try. I once told one of my reporters that I loathed his lead, and the guy wilted in front of me, so hurt. I was talking about his lead, not him. But I learned something then about how to communicate that day. People can take things the wrong way. The one thing I can tell you is that a good editor is commenting on what you wrote, not you, and not your talent, just your words. And if you don't invite that input, you will never get better. I have been at this for decades and I have never written anything that was perfect. I want to get better every single time. I want that input. When my last book came back to me from the editor, I had set aside 2 weeks for a rewrite and it took me 2 hours. I was so disappointed because for me, a hard edit is a learning experience and I can learn as long as I'm writing. And I didn't get a lot of learning on that. I don't want someone to tell me it's great or it's perfect. I want to know what's wrong. One thing that happens when you work hard on a project is that it's so easy to get so close to it that you don't see everything that it needs. That's what editors do. They see what's missing, what's overwritten, what needs pumping up or toning down. A good editor knows when you bring something up too soon or go on too long or mention something too late. He or she will find patterns of what you're doing that work and patterns that don't. Your editor is your first reader. It's your first line of defense. And if that person has some input, pay attention. You may disagree, but at least listen and don't be like that dude who couldn't change one single word of his golden prose. Decide if you want to be a great writer. If you do, open your mind to working with a great editor. It will only make your project better and help you to develop your craft. I'm Fawn Germer, your book editor. If you want to work with me on a project, I'd love to work with you. I've got a lot of experience with this, 25 years, and I can guide you through the agenting and publishing maze. Doesn't matter if it's me or if it's someone else. You just need a good editor so that you can open yourself up to growing as a writer, refining your craft, and finding great success. So if you want to talk to me, visit me at yourbookeditor.com or contact me at info@yourbookeditor.com. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and come back and see me at yourbookeditor.com.